Hello guys, let's do some practice today. You can consider this video as a follow-up video for the part 3 of our video series. And here in this video, we are going to check our understanding on these different topics. See, all these different topics were covered in the uh, part 3 of our video series. So if you have not seen that video, you please go through that video first and then you come to this video to check your understanding. Okay, then let's begin. In this video, I have prepared a set of like 25 questions on these different topics with respect to this particular dataset. This dataset is the same dataset for which I provided the link in the first video. However, in this video's description section also, you'll get a link from where you can download these Google Sheet dataset. See here in the main dataset, there are like hundreds of rows are there. I just copied few of them for this demonstration purpose. Another thing here, see, I wrote these questions in two different colors, pink and blue, like that. Although not exactly pink, not exactly blue, but I'm calling them pink and blue. The thing is, these pink questions are my questions. I mean, those questions I will answer in this video. However, these blue questions are for you. You people have to answer those questions for your practice. However, if you find them difficult, you can let me know it in the comment section. Then certainly I'll help you with some more explanation maybe, or with some more, or maybe directly by writing by showing you how to write the formula. Anyhow, let's begin with the first question. What it is asking is, count how many students are there who scored greater than 40 in test 1. That's quite a easy question on my side, I guess. Now you will also agree on that, right? I mean, it's just like asking us to count how many students or how many cells are there in these range of cells whose values are greater than 50. That's what this question is asking us to do. So we can do it very easily just by doing a conditional counting. That is, count if on what range? On this particular range. On these particular range, we want to count all the cells whose values are greater than 50. I close it, I close it properly, and I press enter, and I get the answer. Okay, there are like 0 students who scored more than 50 on test 1. But you might be immediately saying, sir, no, that is a wrong answer. I mean, there are some students, like this student has scored more than 50, this student has scored more than 50. So what happened? That formula is not working. Don't need to worry. There is a thing here. I mean, I simply copied this data set, but the thing is, these range of cells, or not only this one, these range of cells, and all of them are actually formatted as strings. They are treated as strings or set of characters as in the Google Sheet application. So what you have to do is you have to actually convert them, or you have to tell Google Sheet application to consider them as numbers. And how you can do that? You first select the range of the cells, and then you go to format, and then you select, you keep your mouse cursor on this number tab there, and here you will say, get these options like number, percentage, scientific, and you can choose these numbers. Like if you want some decimal part after the main digit, like here, this is an example, but what I want is, it is like 0 1 2 3 4 5 pattern, no decimal part. Okay, so I'll be selecting this one. So as soon as I do that, and immediately we'll see this result is also updated. Now it is not 0 anymore, it is now 6, and most probably that is the right answer. There are like 6 students here within this range of cells whose values are greater than 50. Okay, got it. Now see here, this was the formula that we wrote. I'm saying 50 50 50, but then in the question it is actually 40, not 50, right? But anyhow, I guess you people got the main point there, right? Yeah, and that main point lead you to another point. Now see, suppose now I want to change my question. I want to answer this question exactly, like how many students are there who scored greater than 40. So in that case, what I have to do is, how I have to make my mistake right, by just changing this number from 50 to 40, and then my answer is, now there are 8 students. Now suppose now I change my question itself, that count how many students are there who scored greater than not 40 but this time 90. What I have to do is, as soon as I change my question from no, in my question I change this number from 40 to 90, what I have to do is, in the formula also I have to change this number from 40 to 90. And that way, if I change this number from again 90 to 10, then again I have to change this number from 90 to 10 in this formula to get the right answer. But what we can do is we can actually do much better than this. This, instead of writing our formula in this way, we can make our formula more dynamic, in the sense that, say for example, the user writes what number, no, writes this number, this 90, the user writes here. So if he or she is interested in all the students who scored more than 90, then he or she will write in 90 here. He or she will write in 90 here. And accordingly, our formula will show all the students who scored more than 90. If he or she is interested in all the students who scored more than, say, 76, in that case, he or she will write a 76 there. And what we want is, we want our formula to change automatically to take care of these change, like from 90 to 76. And how we can achieve that? We can achieve that by making use of these and symbol, or these ampersand symbol, or these concatenate operator. You can call it by any name you want, but we'll be calling it by and symbol. Okay, and symbol. Okay, but anyhow, the point is, the name is not important. The important thing is that what that and symbol does, isn't it? Now, before actually proceeding to making this formula more dynamic, let's see what does that and symbol do. That and symbol, as I said, it is the concatenate operator. It does concatenation. Concatenation means joining two things. Or say for example, you have, say for example, I want to display something like this. Say my name is, say, Ram. But this ram should come from the value of this cell. If I write here Ram, then this should come as my name is Ram. If I write here, say Andrew, then these string should change automatically to my name is Andrew. And how we can do that? By making use of these and concatenation symbol. And how you to do that? The first thing is that we have to like indicate Google Sheet application that we are writing a formula. For that reason, I'll be writing here this equal symbol. And then what we want is, see, my name is, first let it write it in this way. My name is, this is one part of the string, and then the other part of the string is Ram. So what we want to do is, we want to concatenate both these parts of the string. And how we can do that? By making use of this and symbol. What this and symbol will do is, it will ask Google Sheet application to concatenate the left hand side part of the string with the right hand side part of the string. Or you can think it like, it will join whatever it is written on the left hand side of this AND operator with the part of the string which is written on the right hand side of this AND symbol. So ultimately, as soon as I press enter, you are not going to see it in this way. My name is, within double quotation, and Ram. You are going to see the result. And the result is that my name is Ram. This is the result. Now you see here, there is no gap between is and Ram, because here after is I have not given any space there, and after these before these Ram I didn't give any space. So if I want, I can give a space here. As soon as I do that, it will come like my name is Ram. Or what we can do is that, okay, that space we can consider as a separate string, and then we can concatenate that part of the string with the value, or with this string Ram. That time also you're going to get my name is Ram. Now see, what we want is, now this Ram, we do not want that thing to be only Ram. Like whatever it is the value of this string, we want this name to be replaced by the value of this cell. So how you can do that? Now, since we do not want this hard-coded Ram here, what we want is, we want the value of this particular cell. So we'll be writing there the name of the cell. It means, see, what we are doing is, we are concatenating this fixed string, my name is, with this space. So ultimately we got my name is, then space. And after that, that part of the string we are concatenating with the value of the cell D22, whatever it is. So if it is Andrew, as a result, we're going to get my name is Andrew. If it is now anything, say for example, Maya, then I'll get here, my name is Maya. Say it is the first name. I want the second name also. My name is Maya, and then say for example Chakraborty. Chakraborty. It's a Bengali title, okay? And then say here we want that part. So what we want is and. After this, whatever we get after concatenating the first name, then what we want, usually we want a space, so we'll be writing here. See, and means what? Concatenate this part of the, concatenate this part, whatever the result of this part, concatenate that part with a space, with a space, because after the first name we want a space, and then that again the result. Now after giving the space, we want to concatenate that part with the value of this cell, and as soon as I press enter, we are going to get here, my name is Maya Chakraborty, or whatever it is. Say for example, my name is, say, Benedict, and then here you know what is it, right? Cumberbatch, Cumberbatch. The name is most probably like that. Spelling is most probably right. But anyhow, you know this person, right? Benedict Cumberbatch. Initially, he was famous for that Sherlock Holmes series. Now he is, and again, then he did that Doctor Strange role there. And yesterday or day before yesterday, his new movie came up, Spider-Man: Home Return. Most probably, I have not seen that movie yet, but I heard it's a very nice movie. People can go and people can watch that movie also. Nice. And this is the person. Then the lead role is, is done by this person. And again, this is not the main topic that I'm covering, but anyhow, something, like movies I like to see. So you also might like to see. So that's just a suggestion. If you are like a movie fan like me, you can see this movie. It's a nice movie. So anyhow, the point is that we are learning this and symbol, this concatenate symbol here. Okay, so most probably you got the idea now. This symbol actually concatenates string. Whatever you write on the left hand side of this operator, yeah, and on the right hand side of this operator, it will concatenate both this left and right hand side part of the strings, and it will make a single string. Now, where it is useful, how it is useful, now you see, we want, this is a string because this condition is basically written as a string because we have written it within this double quotation. But since it is a string, then what we can do is you can create this string dynamically. The way we created this string dynamically from the value of these cells of from the values of these cells, the same way now we can construct this string dynamically. And how we can do that? See, this greater than part is fixed, sort of, right? It should be that string should always contain that greater than, and then we want to concatenate that greater than symbol with the value of this particular cell, whatever it is. And as soon as I press enter, we get this answer like as 1. Now see, there are like one student who scored more than 76. Let's say I change this number now to 50. As soon as I click outside, automatically the result is also updated, because this time the condition or the input to COUNTIF function is within this range, which is greater than the value of B24, or ultimate string will be greater than 15. See here, you can see the ultimate string which will be passed as the condition. So let me write it here, is equal to uh, greater than within double quotation, and then the value of the cell, this particular cell. Okay, I press enter. See now, what condition, what these this condition will be for when Google Sheet application executes this function, it will be greater than 50. Now if I change this to say 40, then automatically these the value is changed, and this condition, see here, what will be the ultimate string? It will be like greater than 40. This is the ultimate condition or the criteria string that will be given as an input to this COUNTIF function. And as a result, this COUNTIF function will execute its internal code, and it will return us this result as 8. It means there are 8 students who scored more than 40 in test 1. Simple as that, right? Okay, now let's move to the next question, my question. It is like my part of the question, that is this. Count how many students are there who scored between 40 and 50 in test 1 but scored less than 30 in the final tests. So these are test 1, test 2, test 3, and this is the final test score. Now what we want, see here from this question, at least one thing is very evident, clear, that like it is asking us to do some multiple checking, it is asking us to do counting based on multiple conditions. So it means what? We have to write actually count ifs. Okay, let me write the answer here. I'm leaving this three space behind. First, I'm going to write the like static version, the fixed version of the formula for this question. And then we'll try to convert it to a more dynamic formula, the way we did it here. But before that, let us first write the formula as it is, according to this question, according to the figures specified in this question, like within this range of 40 and 50 and less than 30 for the final score. Let's see how to write it first. So we'll be using count ifs because certainly we have to check multiple questions, multiple conditions. So what we want is that the score in test 1 should be within the range of 40 to 50. It means what it is asking is that it is asking us to count like in test 1 within the range of 40 to 50 means a cell whose value is greater than 40, or you can say like greater than or equal to 50 and less than or equal to 50, greater than or equal to 40 and less than or equal to 50. That is what it means, like within the range of 40 and 50. Okay, then let's write it now. Count if, what is the range? The range is this range, like within this range, if the value is that, this is my first condition. See here, what is the syntax of writing countifs? Countifs, then criteria 1, that is criteria range 1 and then criteria 1, criteria range 2, criteria 2, criteria range 3, criteria 3, like that. Okay, like this. This is the range, this is the condition, this is the range, this is the condition. That way we have to write. So on this range, the first condition that we want to check is if it is greater than or equal to 40. And then again on this range and again on this range, that number at the same time should be less than or equal to 50. Some of you might say, sir, why did you write equal to 50? It is actually strictly less than 50. Yeah, if it is a confusion, you can do the change, but for the time being, that's not our main point, right? You can write, if you think it should be less than 50, then you can write less than 50 there, no problem. The point here is that what we are doing is on this range, you are checking if the number is greater than 40. And at the same time, on this range, you are checking if the number is less than or equal to 50. If both these two conditions are satisfied, it means that the student has scored within the range of 40 and 50. That part is done. Now, the third condition we have to check. At the same time, not only this, at the same time, what the student has to do is within the range of 40 and 50 in test 1 but scored less than 30 in the final test, and that part also have to specify. And then what you have to do is on these range, on the final test, the student has to score less than 30. So less than, or if you want, you can write less than or equal to 30, but less than 30 means I think less than 30 in this way. But anyhow, that if it is a confusion, you can do the change accordingly by putting the equal symbol there. Okay, and as soon as I press enter, you're going to get the answer. So it means there are like there are one student who satisfies this condition. Let us manually verify. There are like this student has scored within a range of 40 to 50. This one also scored within a range of 40 to 50, and no other students, I guess, within the range of 40 to 50. Only two students who scored within the range of 40 to 50. But out of these two students, one has scored 38 and other has scored 4. So this particular student actually satisfies both all these conditions. Basically, his score is greater than 50 in test his score is greater than 40 in test 1, less than 50 in test 1, but less than 30 also in in the final test. So for that reason, the count is shown as 1. Say for example, I make the score of this student also from 82 to 2, and as a result, this result should be 2, but it is not 2. Why? Because this score is 75. But now for this student actually, so let's change the score of this student from whatever it was to 29, and that way, as soon as I do the change, you see here it is reflected here properly. I guess if people got the now, if people got the now, you got the idea like how to write the query or how to write the formula. Now the next part is how we can convert this formula to a more dynamic formula, in the sense that instead of writing these numbers in a hard-coded way here, what we want is we want to take these numbers from the value of these three cells, and that's why I left these three cells here, because there are three numbers of interests are there: 40, 50, and 30. So let's say this is the first number within the range of 40 and 50. That is, the user will write the first number in the range here, last number in the range here, and then the score in the final test less than 30. Okay, and then see, greater than or equal to, that part we want to concatenate with the value of this cell, right? And then less than or equal to 50, that part we want to concatenate with the value of this cell. And less than 30, that part less than should be there, that less than part should be concatenated with the value of this cell. Now, the result should not change, it is still 2. But what is the advantage of making this formula dynamic is that now, if now I'm interested in all count the number of students who scored within the range of 10 to 50, but scored less than 30 in the final test. So there are like 9 students who scored 10 to 50 in test 1, however scored less than 30 in the final test. Okay. So now I change it now. Say who scored say within the range of 50 to 60, but scored less than 80 in the final score. You will get, say, there are 0 students. Okay, well, let's manually convert one valid student for this condition. 50 to 60, but less than 80 in the final score. So let's make this score say 50 to 60, so 55, and this score say less than 80, so 78. This student should be counted. As a result, you can see this student is counted now. Okay, if you have any doubts or queries, then you can let me know it in the comment section. Now, for the time being, I'm moving to the next question. How many students are there whose average score was greater than the final test score? Oh, that's a question now. Count how many students are there whose average score was greater than the final score. But here in this data set, certainly this average score is not mentioned anywhere, right? So we have to do it by ourselves, and we'll be doing it right now. So for that reason, we will be first counting the average score. Now, the average score is certainly a, how do you count the average score? I mean, what is the average score for this student? It is okay, fine, directly straightforward. This number, this number, this number, this number divided by 4. But what is the average score for this student? This number plus this number, this is an A. What we should consider is A as. Should we discard it? Should we keep it? Should we consider it as 0 or what? Oh, that's the question, right? So what we can do is, for the time being, so we have to see here, that is a that is something that should be mentioned there in the rule set, right? How we should treat these A. That's not a part of the formula or anything. So let's um, proceed with the consensus that these A's will be considered as 0. I mean, wherever that student is absent, it will be considered as a 0 score, and that way and then we'll find the sum, and then we'll be considering taking the average. Okay, let's say first find the sum of the students. Okay, like sum of the scores. Sum you know already, like how to find the sum. So sum of all these numbers, that's all. 132 is the sum of all these numbers. Now I want to find now the same formula I want to apply on this row, and all these rows. Only thing is that these cell reference should change from Z2 to Z2 to Z3 to Z3, and then for this row Z19 to Z19. And that is actually that can be done automatically just by making use of this autofill option. What I have to do is I have to, most probably I have to drag these rectangle up to the point till what I want to fill the cells. So as soon as I do that, you will see automatically, see here, if I click here, automatically the formula is like sum of Z13 to J13. Automatically this row is taken care of. Sum of Z13 to Z13. Let's say, what is the sum of this row? It is like 20 plus 40 60 plus 21 81. This is 81. This A is considered as 0 automatically, okay, or by default. Done. Now what is the average then? The average score is actually the sum divided by 4. That is where the consensus is coming actually. Like, should we consider this as like for this, say obviously the sum is say 90 because we considered it as 0. Now whether it is 90 by 3 or 90 by 4, I'm going with 90 by 4. Okay, so average is actually this cell, average is equal to the value of this cell divided by 4. Done. That is the average. And then the for the rest of the cells, I'll make use of this autofill option, and that way I'll get the average score of all the students. Now we are ready to answer this question. Like, count how many students are there whose average score was greater than the final test score. Okay, here we do not need any input, so directly I'm writing the answer here. So again, there is only one condition most probably we have to check. So we'll be doing it in this way. Count if. Okay, and what we have to do is count if on which range we want to check our condition, like count how many students are there whose average score, okay, whose average score is greater was greater than the final test score of that student. Oh, now that is a point. Can we answer this question using COUNTIF or COUNTIFs or whatever? And only based on these things, okay? Not and some ifs, okay? Other than that, we do not know anything. Say, for example, we do not know if and we do not know other things, okay? So say, in that case, how can we answer this question? Is it possible? Let's try. Now, see, we might have to use some trick here, I guess. Directly, it is not very clear like how one can write the formula using COUNTIF and COUNTIFs. But if you can, you please let me know it in the comment section. But I think what I have to do is here, if we are like constrained that we have to use only these different concepts, in that case, how we're going to do it? How many students are there whose average score was greater than the final test score? Okay, let's say count if on this particular range. So basically, it is asking you that on this particular range. Now the thing is that how it is different from the other questions. In other questions, the conditions were given directly, like on this range, if the value is greater than a fixed number. Maybe that number is coming from the value of a particular cell, but that number was always fixed. But this time it is like if this number is greater than whose average score is greater than his final score. This is his final score. In this case, it is a valid case. 53 is greater than his final score, to valid case. Then say 19.25, it is not greater than his final score, so it should not, he should not be counted, right? How do we do that? If these values are greater than, then we do not know, like, not only one number, like this value should be compared with the corresponding value in this particular column, right? How do we do that? So COUNTIF is not going to work in this case. So how to do that then? And only we are like constrained. Say, for example, we have to use COUNTIF, COUNTIFs, and whatever the functions that we discussed in part 2 and part 3 of our video series. So in that case, certainly we have to, if you think, now I got an idea, I guess we can do it in this way. So not in this way directly. So what we'll be doing is we'll be counting, we'll be computing some intermediate results, and then we'll be, going to the final answer. So what I'm planning to do is, okay, here, what I want to do is that I want to compute the difference of the average score of I want to compute the difference of this score minus this score. Yeah. And see here, the question, the main question. Count how many students are there whose average score was greater than the final test score. Greater than or equal to will not consider, greater than, strictly greater than. Okay, now see, if the average score is strictly greater than the final test score, then what will happen is if I subtract the average, if I subtract the final score from the average score, then I should always get a positive number. I'll get a 0 if both of them are equal. I'll get a negative number if the average score is less than the final test score, right? So let's do that step first, and then we'll proceed. Now what we want is we want to repeat the same formula for all these different rows, and then you can see we are getting some positive numbers, some negative numbers, and some zeros also. Here it is exactly equal, I guess. I mean, 20.25 is considering it is considered like, what is the formula here? we're computing average minus J19, average minus here it is coming like because of the format. I mean, it is not zero actually, it is 0.25, but since the format is written as here, you see again, this number format is no decimal part, that's why that decimal part is hidden. But if I select it in this way, you'll get it in this way. Say, like it is 29.0051, the actual difference is actually 51.25, like that. Now you see, some of the numbers are positive, some of them are negative. Positive in the sense, see, from where we are subtracting, from L2, that is from average, we are subtracting the final. So if the result is positive, it means average is bigger than final. If the result is negative, it means the average is smaller than the final. And what we are interested in, we are interested in counting those students whose average score is greater than the final test score. It means we have to count basically in this intermediate result how many cells are there whose values are positive, isn't it? So we can do it in this way. Now ultimately we are like, in the last step, like count if, on which range we have to count it on this particular range of cells. And what should be the condition? The condition is should be the values will count only when the value of these of any cell is greater than or equal to, not equal to zero, right? Is greater than zero. It means we are interested in counting the cells whose values are strictly positive. I do not know whether it makes any sense when I say strictly positive. Positive means positive, greater than zero, and negative means less than zero. And zero is zero, neither positive nor negative. So we are interested in counting only those positive cells, or only those cells whose values are positive. Okay, and then if I close it, done. Now the result is 10. It means there are 10 students whose scores are greater than, whose average score is greater than the final test scores. Okay, this was quite a question. Now see here, we didn't actually get the answer of this question, in a straightforward way. What we had to do is we had to actually compute like three intermediate results, and then after computing those results, then we were ready to apply our final formula. So that might happen with some of the blue questions also. So if you so you have to think properly, like how exactly you are going to solve those problems. But if you do not find any way, then you let me know. I think all the questions are answerable, or all the questions you can answer with by just by making use of these count functions and sum functions. But still, if you get one which cannot be answered, the people can always let me know it in the comment section. I'd like to know. Another thing that I'd like to know is if you can do it in some different ways. However, keeping those constraints fixed, that we are not supposed to use any other function other than those sum functions and count functions. Okay, if you come to know how to do it in a different way, then please let me know it in the comment section. I'd like to know that also. Okay, anyhow, my third question in my part is count number of students absent from test one. Oh God, this is damn easy. We just have to compute how many A's are there in test one, right? It's easy. I got one very easy question. How relaxing it is, isn't it? Count if on this particular range, on these test one scores, wherever it is an A, I want to compute that A. That's all. One student who was absent. Okay, that's the answer. There is one student who was absent. Let's make this student also absent, say A. Now there are two students who were absent, so this is the result. Two students were absent. Got it. Done. Finished. Count how many students whose first name starts with a J and ends with a J. Okay, J and J. Oh, it is also easy, right? Now see, it is now asking us to write a formula that involves the search of a particular pattern, right? You remember the wildcards? Here these wildcards are coming because see, the names are not fixed because in between this, it could be anything. It could be like J and J, that is also a match. If somebody's name is JXXJ, that is also a match, that also should be counted. Somebody's name is John J, that also should be counted. So anyone whose name contain, whose first name in the sense, basically we are now it is asking us to apply the formula on these range, whose first name contains contains the first letter as J and the last letter is J, we have to count those students. Okay. Okay, let's see how to do that. It is also a very easy question. So we'll be writing count if on these particular range, on these ranges, we are interested in all the students whose name starts with J, and after that it could be anything, we don't care. But at the end, again, it should end with a J. And once I press the enter key, you'll get to know how many such students are there. Now see, again, these J and J, they are sort of input, they are not fixed things. I can ask the same question with different input, like count how many students are there whose first name starts with a J but ends with an E, starts with a K, ends with an I, or anything, right? So for that reason, what I do is I do not write this answer here. Instead, I write the answer here, because two inputs I'll need, and I want to say this is the first input and this is the last input, right? It means who starts with this is the like starts with symbol, ends with symbol, and then we want this part to be dynamic, this condition part to be dynamic. Now see, in this is we ultimately want this J is actually not the J, it is the value of this particular cell, and this J is not the J directly, it is the value of this particular cell, and rest of the things, that is only this star, is fixed. So what we want is we want that star, okay? But before that star, what we want, before that star, we want to concatenate the cell, the value of this particular cell, and after that after that star, we want to concatenate the value of this cell. So the answer will remain same, but this time now say if I write here whose name starts with a K and ends with an with a R. So I guess there are some students. No, let me check. Whose name starts with an S and ends with an R, say, with an R, say. So here, as soon as I change this K from S and click outside, I should get a 1 here, but I'm not getting it. Why? Am I right? Shamir, is it case sensitive? I do not think so. Oh, there are 2 stars I have written somewhere. There is a mistake there. B232 star. No, this is not a star. This is an and there. Okay, that was a mistake. Now, there are like one student whose name starts with an S, ends with a R. Okay, and let's count some of them. Like K and A, that is 1. Starting with K, ending with 1. Starting with J, ending with L. I am just looking for like okay, okay. Just mm, this Samir, and I intentionally I write there an E, and here also I write E, and here also I write E. I know at least 3 students are there whose name starts with an S, ends with an E, and let make this student starts with an S but doesn't end with an E. So the answer should be 3 there, right? Automatically starts with an S, ends with an E. As soon as I change this input from R to E, this number is 3 there. Now see here, that is the advantage of making a formula dynamic there. Like now it is, we can specify the input, right? Now we are not interested in all the names, first names, or all the number of students whose first name starts with an S, ends with an E, but starts with a K and ends with an E. There are 0 students, but say for example here I intentionally write an E there, and here intentionally I write an E, so our output also should change from 0 to 2, from 0 to 2, right? Right. Okay, now move to the next question, that is asking you count how many students are there whose first name is Raz and who is a female student. So what it is asking you to do is that in this first name column, we have to we have to count all the students whose name is Raz. Say for example, this particular student whose name is Raz. And then what we have to do is on this column, on this gender column, we have to see if the corresponding value on this particular column for that particular row is F or not. That is, we are searching for all the students whose name is Raz and whose gender is female. So here we have to count based on multiple conditions. So we'll be doing a count ifs. That is, we'll be using a count ifs function there, right? So let me write it here. So we'll be writing equal to count ifs on this particular range, that is on this first name column. We want to count all the students whose name is Raz, and at the same time the corresponding value on under this column should be, that is, first you have to select this column, that is on this column again we want to check another condition, and that condition is that the corresponding value should be a female. And as soon as I press enter, I'll get, okay, there is one student whose name is Raz and who is a female. Let's verify it first. Raz, female, and only one. So for example, now I change this Rajesh from Rajesh to Raz, and it's a male student. So the answer will still be one there, right? But if I change the gender now from male to female, then we'll be seeing two there, a two. Now our formula is ready. The static version of the formula is ready. But what we want to do is that instead of taking this name as a hard-coded name, we want to take it from another cell. Take this value from another cell. Similarly, this F also we want to take from another cell, because sometimes it could be the same question could be asked in different way, right? Like count how many students are there whose first name is, say for example, John, and who is a female or who is a male, something like that. So what we want is this name we want to take from another cell. So for that reason, we will do a concatenation with this equal symbol. See, uh, concatenate this equal symbol with the value of this particular cell. That is, the user will write the name of the student he or she is interested in this particular cell. Similarly, this gender part, instead of writing there an F, what we'll do is we'll write equal and concatenate this equal symbol with the value of this particular cell. So whatever the gender the user writes here, that will be used here in this formula. Now let's say now if I press enter, it will be 0 by default if I do not write anything here, right? So for example, I write here Raj and I write here a female. I should get a 2 there, isn't it? Now see, now it is a dynamic query in the sense that now we can search for any particular student specified by, and we can count any student of any gender. So for example, we are interested in all the students whose name is Haris and who is a male. Say for that reason, I change this A Rahul or this A Rahul from this to Haris and male. So in that case, what we should get here is, if we write Haris here, and if I write here a male, then we'll get a 2 here. Harish and male, the spelling is wrong. Harish and male. There are two students whose first name is Harish and whose gender is male. Done. Then the next question. Count how many students are there whose first name is Rahul. Don't you think it's very easy? Yeah, I do think so. So count if, only one condition we have to check. So we'll be using count if. Count if on this particular column, we want to count all the students whose name is equal to Rahul. Easy. As soon as I press enter, I'm getting here an error. Let's see why is it. Count if, that spelling is wrong. So count if, press enter. Okay, there is only one student who satisfies this condition. Now see again, instead of writing here the name in this fashion, what we can do is we can actually make this query dynamic by writing it in this way. Take the value equal to whatever the value of this particular cell. Okay, say now it is Rahul. We're going to get the same answer, 1. Okay, done. Then count how many students are there who scored less than 50 in test 1. Am I lucky? This is also a very easy question. So whose test score is a test 1 score is less than 50? It's easy. It means what it is asking you to do is that on these columns, these are the test 1 scores for the students. So on this column, basically you have to count how many numbers or how many cells are there whose values are less than 50. So we know we have to do a count if there. We have to check one condition. So we'll be doing one count if equal to count if on these range we are interested in to count how many values are there whose how many cells are there whose value is less than 50. The 10 cells whose value is less than 50. Let's now let's again convert it to dynamic queries by writing it in this way: less than, and then uh, concatenate this less than symbol with the value of this particular cell. Now, if I write here, say 50, we should get again this 10 back. Yeah. Now, say for example, we are interested in counting how many students are there whose score is less than 10. A zero students whose score is less than 10 in test 1. Say I change this 75 from 75 to 7. So that time our answer should be 1. Yeah, 1. Right. Done. Now count how many students whose first name starts with a J. Another easy question on my side. Say this time I write here. This is the cell whose value, like, now this is the cell where the user will write what is the first character that the user is looking for. Okay, say for example J here. So here what we want is we want to count, see only one condition, so COUNTIF function, count all the students whose first name starts with. So on this range we want to check a condition. Now what is the condition? That is, it should start with J, right? So let me write this J here directly, and then after the J it could be anything. So that is the that is the static version of the query. Count all the students whose name is equal to J, and after J it could be anything. But this J is actually not J. What it is, here we have to actually concatenate the J, replace the J by the name of this particular cell. So that we can do by doing a concatenation. So for that reason we'll be doing it in this way. Now here, this is the value of the cell, and press enter. Again, we're getting a 4 there, right? If I do not write here anything, then let's see what will be the answer. The answer is 18. Why? You see, if I do not write anything in this cell, then it will be like equal to, then blank, and then star. It means equal to star ultimately. So within this range, anything that matches with this star, we want to count that. And you know that that star actually can replace anything. I mean, 0 character, any number of characters, any number of any characters, right? So for that reason, all these 18, there are total 18 rows are there. All those 18 rows will be considered as a match, and then it will return the count result as 18. But here, suppose now not only the first letter you can write here anything. That suppose we are interested in all the students whose name starts with, say for example, RA. There is this Raj, there is this Rahul, and there is this Ra Laxman or whatever, and then again another Raj. So let's count how many students are there whose first name starts with RA. So we'll be writing here RA, and then we press enter. So as soon as I write RA and press enter, then we see there are 4 students whose name starts with RA. This 1, and this is 2, and 3, and 4. Say if I change this one also to RASAMAM or whatever, then that answer should change from 4 to 5. 5, right? Done. Then the next question. Count how many students are there whose first name is Janmoni and who is a male. This question is actually done, isn't it? Here. Um, this one. Count how many students are there whose first name is Raz and who is a female. Count how many students are there whose first name is something and who is something, right? Same question. Basically here, see here, we do not have to write a separate formula, but the formula for both these two questions are same. Only thing is that the input to the formulas are different. So if you are interested in Janmoni and then male, we have to write here Janmoni and male, then that will show us the count. So this one I'm considering as a bonus for me. I mean, I do not have to do it explicitly, it is already done. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just merge them and already done. And just to display them at the center, we will, okay, let it be like that. No, I will not play with it anymore. Now count total number of students, another easy question. Count total number of students, no input needed. Only thing is that we can use count function. And then the thing is here, when we have to count how many students are there, we can actually consider any row there, right? But we have to consider, sorry, any column there, but we have to consider the most reliable column where empty cells are least expected. Say the ID field of the students. Usually this ID cannot be blank for any students, right? So we can use this particular column. And see here, these IDs are numbers, whereas suppose if you want, you can consider first name also. However, these first names are strings. So if you are considering these ID fields, say I count the number of students on this range. If you write it in this way, then you can use, if you're using ID field, then you can use this count function, because count function counts the the numerical number of numerical values in the data set. However, if you're using say count and you are using the first name to count the number of students, in that case certainly count is not going to work. What you have to do, you have to make use of this count a function, right? And that way you are going to get the same answer. Next is count how many students who has only the first and middle names. When I say only the first and middle names, it means the implicit part is like not the last name. Okay, it means what? Okay, let's first see what we have to count. Count how many students who has only the first and middle names, not the last name. It means here, out of these students, how many students are there who has both these first name and second name, but not this last name? So, for example, this is a no, this is a maths. This student has a first name. This particular student has first name, middle name, but doesn't have any last name. This student is not a match, although he has first name and middle name, but he or she also has this last name. So we are not supposed to count this student. This particular student is also not a match because he or she has the first name but not the middle name. So he or she should not be counted. So the valid count should be like this particular student is a valid student for counting. This one is we have to count, and then these last two we have to count because they both these two have the first name and the second name. However, they do not have the last name part. So we are interested in counting all those students who have only the first and the middle name but not the last name. That is the question it is asking. Now how we are going to solve it actually? Now how do we know? Like see here, to solve this question, what are things that we need to know? Count how many students who has only the first and middle names, not the last name. So first thing is here we need to know like how to know if a cell is not empty. Because see, we have to check if the first name cell is not empty and if the second name cell is not empty. For the first part, like see for this part, who has only the first and middle names, it means we need to know, like we need to check if the first name is not empty and the middle name is not empty, and then not the last name. And again here, and for the last name we have to check if it is empty. So basically we need to know how to know if a cell is not empty sometimes, and also we need to know like how to know if a cell is empty. Okay, so if we know how to do this, both these two things, then we are done. Let's see, how do we know it? Let's first see this part. How do we know if a cell is not empty? See, when we say a cell is not empty, if the cell has at least one character or one symbol there, then we say that the cell is not empty. So for example, if I ask you, is this cell empty? You'll be saying yes, because nothing is there. If I ask you, now, is this cell empty? I write here an I and I am asking you, is this cell empty? You'll be saying no. Why? Because there is an I there, at least one. See, if a cell is to be empty, or if a cell is to be not empty, then it should at least have one character. Then if I ask you, like I write here some other characters, then if I ask you, is it empty, then you'll be saying no, because it has not only one, it has actually many characters there, so certainly it is not an empty cell, right? So the requirement for a cell to be not empty is that it should have at least one character there in it. Then we can say that the cell is not empty. Now the question is, then how do we decide that if the cell has at least one character? Okay, for that reason, you need to know the use of the wildcards again, the question mark wildcard. See, do you remember that these wildcard, this question mark wildcard, what does it do? See, you know that a question mark wildcard can be replaced, it can be replaced or it can be matched against a single character, against exactly, this word is important, exactly one. Both these two words are important. It can be replaced by exactly one character. It means this question mark. It means this particular question mark. It I is a match against that question mark, certainly. And if I ask you, is UI is a match against that question mark, you will say no, because UI has two characters, but that question mark can be replaced only by one character. Okay. If I ask you, can I replace that question mark with a blank string, you will be saying no, because that question mark can be replaced only on exactly by only one character. Okay, that it can be replaced by exactly one character. So if you write a blank string there, certainly it cannot replace or it cannot be matched against this question mark, because it doesn't have that property exactly one character, right? But if I ask you, can I replace this question mark with this and symbol? You'll be saying yes, because it has this particular string has exactly one character, and you can replace this, or you can consider this string as a match again, as a match against this question mark. Okay, having said so, now let me use this question mark in a formula to verify if the given cell is empty or not empty. How do you do that? Let's see an example, then you'll come to know. So for example, we want to verify, or we want to see if this particular cell is empty or not empty, and using a COUNTIF function again. Say count if. What we are interested in, first thing is that you have to specify the range on which you want to do the counting. We want to do the counting only on one particular cell, this cell. We want to count that in this range, that is, there is only one cell, so our answer will be either 0 or 1. See, only one cell. If you, the given range itself, the total number of cells there itself is 1. So if that particular cell satisfies that condition, then the answer will be 1. And if that particular cell doesn't satisfy that condition, then the answer will be 0. So if you write here like count if Z44, that is, we are interested, our given range is this particular cell. On that cell, what we want to count is, we want to count, like the condition now, we want to count like how many cells are there that satisfies these particular condition, that is, that has exactly one character on this range, only one cell. Basically what we are doing is, we are actually checking if this particular cell has exactly one character or not. That's all. And as soon as I press enter, you will see here, since this particular cell doesn't have any character, it is saying 0. That because, see, count if this, and it is not a match, so nothing has to be done. And since it is only the range, so no cells are again to be verified, only one cell was there, and that cell doesn't satisfy the condition, so the total count is 0, and that's the result. You are getting a 0 here. Now suppose I write there a character A, and as soon as I click outside, you see the output is 1 there. Why? Because it is a match, Z44, and only one cell it is checking right now, and it is a match, and no other cells are there in the given range. So the query is over. As a result, the total count is 1, and as you know, that's why this 1 is being displayed here. Now say if I write there AQ and this, now what do you think? Is it going to be a 0 or is it going to be a 1? It's going to be a 0 because this is AQAW is not a match against this question mark, right? Because this question mark can be replaced only by one character, but here there are four characters there. So it is not a match, and as a result, the total count is total number of cells that were matched against this question mark is 0, and that's why this 0 is coming on the screen, right? Now, this is now right now we know like how to check if the cell contains exactly one character, but it is not the thing that we are looking for. What we want to know is how to know if a cell is not empty. How to know if a cell is not empty in the sense like this implies that what we have to do is like how to know if the cell contains at least one character. So that's the thing. Let me do one thing here. Where is that overflow option is there? Oh, I forgot. Oh, this wrapping. Yes. Now wrap. Okay. See here, how to know if a cell is not empty. It is same as how to know if the cell contains at least one character, isn't it? If the cell contains at least one character, it means the cell is not empty. So if we want to know if a cell is empty, we have to know if the cell contains at least one character. That's all. That is our goal. But the thing is, again, right now what we know in this formula, what we have seen is that we have seen that how to know or how to check if a cell contains exactly one character. Now this we are going to modify now. See, if the cell contains at least one character and exactly one character. So right now we know how to like whether a particular cell contains exactly one character or not. So at least one means what? It should have exactly one character plus it, after that it can have as many characters as as many characters. It doesn't matter. Like it can have zero numbers of character, it can have 100 numbers of characters or anything. So for that reason, what we can do is we can write there a star. You think for a moment like why, I mean, how these things make sense actually. Okay. So now let's first see this example. If it is working, then you think and then you will come to know what is happening. Now what we're doing is star question mark. It means what? It should have at least one character plus along with that it can have as many characters as as there be. I mean, it can have zero characters, it can have 100 characters, it can have three characters like that, but always it should have at least one character. Okay, and that is what, how to know if the cell contains at least one character. If we write the condition of this countif function in this way, like star question mark, it means at least one it should have, and after that it can have as many as there be. Okay, so let's now see. If I write now something, then this value will be one. Always the value will be one as long as I keep something in this cell, no matter whether it is whether I write many characters, whether I write only one character, always the value will be one. But if I do not write anything there, the value will be zero. It means if the cell is empty, the value will be zero if we write the formula in this way. But if the cell is not empty, then the value will be one. It means this particular formula can check if the cell is empty or not. So we know now like how to check if the cell is empty or not, right? So let's first make use of these understanding to answer this question. Count how many students are there who has only the first and middle names. For the time being, we will not consider not the last name part. We'll be checking like count how many students are there who has only the first and middle names. Okay, so okay, let's do it. We'll be writing count if we'll be checking multiple conditions, so I'll be using countifs. What we have to do is we have to check if these first name part, that is on these range, if the cell is not empty, because who has only the first and the middle name, that part we are checking. It is, we are checking if the student has both the first name and the middle name. Okay, that is, if the students have at least one character in the first name and at least one character in the middle name, that part we are checking. So it means this one is, this has, on these range the student has at least one character, and at the same time on this range also the student should have at least, the name should have at least one character. Done. If both these two conditions are satisfied at the same time, it means the student has both, the corresponding student has both the first name and the middle name. If I press enter, you'll get the answer as a 17. It means there are like 17 students who has both the first name and the middle name, because you see here it is clear, right? There are 18 students, out of which only this particular student doesn't have the middle name. So as a result, there are like 17 students who have both the first name and the middle name. So for example, just for the sake of an example, I remove this Kumar part, and then there are like 16 students who have both the first name and the middle name. There are two students who doesn't satisfy the condition. So there are 16 students who have both the first name as well as the middle name, right? Now the question is not yet over. Like now we have to add one more condition that says not the last name. It means what? That the last name should not contain any character. Now, what this function was doing, it was checking if the cell contains at least one character. Okay. But now if I write here not means what? This symbol. Let me check if it works. See here, not. Now I'm writing a not in front of at least one character. Now it should not contain at least one character. Okay, it means if this condition will be satisfied if the cell is empty. Okay, and that's why if I write here empty, then it will give you 1, but if I write here anything, then it will give you a 0. See, I just put a not in front of these at least one. You just have to think, these are some logical things. You think for a moment logically, it should make sense to you. Okay, now these condition also we know. Now not only these, now along with these, that the cell should not be the first name should not be empty. That is, first name should have at least one character, middle name should have at least one character, and that is, on this range, this last name, it should not have any character. So we'll be writing it should not have any character at all. Then as soon as I write this condition and I press enter, we should get our answer. It means there are like 4 students who satisfies this condition. Let me check. This student doesn't satisfy, and this student satisfies. First name, middle name, doesn't have the last name. First name, middle name, doesn't have the last name. 2 match, and this is the third match. First name, second name, no last name. First name, second name, no last name. There are 4 students who satisfies this condition. Let's check another one. Like here I write here a name, say for example Raz. First name it has, second name it has, but it doesn't have the last name. Say, so now the answer should be 5. And say I remove this Joshi also, now the answer should be 6. Okay, let's see, now the answer is 6. This is a sort of, you have to think for a moment, like why these, how this formula makes sense. um, Sort of a mental exercise. I think you people should engage yourself in such mental exercise. Try to solve it by yourself, how it makes sense, and is there a different way of doing the same thing. If you find it, then you let me know. What you can do is you can create some intermediate columns there, and that way also you can solve this problem. This is a compact way of doing the thing, but still you can create some intermediate result, and then you can perform the counting on those intermediate results, and that way also you can get the result. See, one example I showed you, like when we did this whose average is greater than the final score example. Something like that actually. Okay, not exactly like that, but anyhow, this question is also over. If you have any doubts or queries regarding these, or if you want more explanation regarding these wildcards and question mark and star symbol, then you people can let me know it in the comment section. I'd like to help you. Okay, now on my part, this is the last question now. Count how many students who doesn't have a last name. Yeah, it's easy now, right? Count how many students who doesn't have a last name. It means we have to count all the students who have an empty last name cell, right? So here we know how to do that. We already did that actually. See here, these actually. This particular formula checks if the given cell is empty or not. See, if it is empty, it will be giving you a 1, otherwise it will be giving you a 0. Say for example, if I do not write anything here, it will be giving you a 1, but if I write something here, it will be giving you a 0. Even if I write a single character there, it will be still 0, but if I do not write anything there, it will be a 1. So we know, right? Count how many students who doesn't have a last name. We know how to do it. Say like count if on this particular range, on this range we are looking for the cells who doesn't have, which is empty basically, who doesn't have any character. Okay, that question mark and that star. It means who doesn't have any match for this particular pattern. Okay, that is who doesn't have any match for this at least one character. And where it is true, only when the cell is empty. Okay, whereas here it doesn't have any match for at least one character. Here it doesn't have any match for at least one character. No match for at least one character, no match for at least one character, no match for at least one character. I guess 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, the answer is 6. For the time being, I guess the answer is 6. If I remove any one of them again, now the answer will become 7. The answer is now 7. Okay, guys, then my part is over. Now it is your turn. What you have to do is you have to try to answer all these blue questions. If you can do it, it's good. And however, if you face any difficulties there, as I said before also, if people can let me know it in the comment section, I'll certainly help you. Okay, guys, then that much only in this video. I'll see you in the next video with some new content. Till then, have a nice day.